All right, hello everybody. Looks like got some sound going to OBS. We should be good there. Let's just get chats going here. I see we got a baby Yoda over there in the chat. How's it going, C Grover? Happy Friday to everybody. Janiscu, like the baby Yoda there. All right, so quick introduction. My name is Tim, and I go by Foamy Guy on the GitHub and the Discord. And this is the Adafruit CircuitPython deep dive program. So I'm here still filling in for Scott, and we'll be working on CircuitPython related stuff. To take a quick step back, though, if you might be new and you don't know what we're talking about, CircuitPython, this is a version of Python that runs on these tiny computers called microcontrollers. There's lots of different shapes and sizes, circles with alligator clips, the feather form factor, which a lot of them are. There's the Raspberry Pi Pico. There's some with displays built in. There's some with, radio antennas built in, all kinds of different shapes and sizes of these things. And we are writing some Python code that we can run on these little computers to interface with other hardware. So, buttons, beepers, buzzers, LEDs, radios, e-ink screens, regular screens, touch sensors, pretty much any kind of little electronical widget that you can imagine, you can hook up to these microcontrollers and then interact with using the Python code. So that's kind of, the 50,000 foot view of what we'll be messing around with today. So how's it going over there on YouTube, Beata and Gordy G? Happy Friday. Yes, thank you. Happy Friday to everyone as well. Tammy and Paul over on Discord. Thanks for tuning in, folks. CircuitPython again. You can learn more here at circuitpython.org. It's an open source project. You can get involved with contributing if you click the contributing link up here. You can also join us on the Discord, which I think I have down on the screen there. Yeah, adafru.it/discord. That's the Adafruit Discord channel where there is a CircuitPython dev room inside of there, which is where all of the development occurs. We coordinate through that Discord for the development. Happy Friday, Bizarro Builds. Thank you. You as well. Thanks for tuning in here. So do join us over on the Discord. If you want to help support the project, but you don't necessarily want to get involved in development, another thing you can do is purchase hardware from Adafruit. This is their website here, adafruit.com. Adafruit is a hardware and software company based out of New York, and they are the ones who are primarily paying the folks who are working on the CircuitPython project. So there's a team of folks who work on the project full-time. There's a couple folks like me who work on the project part-time, and Adafruit is paying all of us to work on the CircuitPython project. So if you want to purchase hardware from them, then you are helping support, all of us working on the CircuitPython project, and we definitely do appreciate that. They sell, the microcontrollers themselves. They also sell all kinds of things that you can actually plug in and do with them. They also provide the Learn system, learn.adafruit.com, where there are thousands of different guides and projects that go along with all of the hardware they sell. So browse the Learn system, find a project that looks interesting to you. This foot pedal looks pretty sweet to me. I think I may make me one of these things. Find a project that you like. You can go into it. You can find what hardware you will need for it. And then you can get that hardware right on Adafruit there. And again, I'll just mention, definitely do appreciate folks who purchase hardware from them. Ooh, what is that? Fancy feather here in the chat. What do we have? This is from the String Car M0. Supports custom one-off boards. Yeah, good point as well, C. Grover. Let me copy the link here. So a lot of these boards are produced by Adafruit, and you can get them at adafruit.com, but there's also even more boards. There are a majority of boards are actually produced by other folks. So this is a feather form factor device, M0, so SAMD21 probably this is. And this is made by community member C. Grover, who is over there in the chat. So yeah, excellent point that CircuitPython, it's not limited to just the Adafruit hardware. There is lots of other hardware, including custom boards created by members of the community, all kinds of interesting devices that do run CircuitPython. Hello from Arkansas, Shuttlepod, how's it going? Let's see, today's been being patient with FreeCAD. I never did pick up FreeCAD. I tried, I use OpenSCAD. I haven't used it for a minute, but I did learn quite a bit about it, and I would consider myself okay at it. FreeCAD looked interesting, if that's the one I was thinking of. don't remember for sure. OpenSCAD fit really nice for me because it's kind of like programming shapes, and I am kind of a programmer by trade, so it fit really well with my brain, OpenSCAD, but it does have limitations for sure. Ali Noir over on YouTube, how's it going? Thanks for tuning in. Let's catch up the chat here. Microphone sounds a little off. Let me check. We are not quite all the way up. I can bump it there. Let me check OBS as well. It's also a little far away, I guess. Is that in frame? Oh, it is. Yeah, let me scoot it out just a bit. Let's see right there. And I'll check. This one looks like it's all the way up here as well in OBS. Thank you, though, for the heads up. Let me know if it does still sound messed up. Python supports one-off boards. Yeah, so we made it up to there. Sounds okay to me. It sounds more distant and echoey than usual. Could be that. Let me just double check. Yeah, we are definitely on the right microphone. Turn this down. I don't think that should affect it at all, but a bit more distant and echoey. It's a little farther away, I would say, truthfully. I'll try to speak up a bit, see if I can't figure out some settings for it. Looks like I'm peeking around yellows inside OBS. Try CAD query one of these days. It's like OpenSCAD but Python. Oh, that sounds pretty sweet. Yeah, Python code would be super cool to integrate with. It's interesting, the idea to me to integrate 3D shapes with other APIs and things. So like the GitHub commits, they release like the Skyline model or whatever. You can download your Skyline and then print it if you want. That kind of thing I think is pretty cool. Sounds okay on YouTube. Okay, yeah, thanks for the heads up, folks. Multitasking today, listening to the stream, reading a book about unit testing with PyTest. I know how to do it, but I have to teach my team at work how to unit test, so solidifying my understanding. Oh yeah, that's awesome. I will say teaching is a great way, teaching a thing that you have an understanding of, but maybe not, like a full entire grokking of. Teaching is actually a really good way to understand it more, I find as well. So that'll be a fun exercise, I imagine. Level is high enough, just sounds different. Sounds normal now, suddenly switched. Could be like a compression thing or something. I don't necessarily have the bit rate up or whatever. If it slows down, though, I could see that making it sound wonky for a minute. Sounds okay to me watching on the phone today. Oh, nice. Thanks for tuning in from out in the world, wherever you are. So today we are going to follow up on something I started last week, which is, whoops, we don't want to go to MicroPython. We're going to follow up. Oh no, computer died. Oh, that's rough. Sorry to hear that. Teaching as a form of learning is why I stream. Yeah, totally agree. Let's see, we want the PR from TileGrid contains. Yes, we want this. And I noticed Scott looked over this a couple of days ago. We got a couple changes, so we're going to make these changes, we're going to build it, we're going to test it, and then I'm going to build something that uses this functionality. To catch folks up, if you didn't catch last week's streams, this is functionality adding a function called contains to the TileGrid object. TileGrid is like one of the base objects for displayio. So when you want to put a bitmap on the screen or something like that, you put it inside of a TileGrid, or you kind of put it with a TileGrid and use that to show it on the screen. If we have a TileGrid contains, it's going to take a XY coordinates touch point, and it's going to tell us whether that touch point is inside the TileGrid or not, which is helpful for writing code that says, like when the user touches on this button, we want to run some code to do something, right? So this is the code that's kind of making it easier for us to do that. Of course, we could still figure it out using, the X and the Y and the width and the height and all that, but having this function makes it much nicer. We don't have to write nearly as much code in the Python layer to do it, so that's what we're trying to do. How's it going, Mark Gambler? Thanks for tuning in. I have a friend who's a surgeon, and he said that's why the paradigm in medical school is see one, do one, teach one. I like it. Do one, teach one. Okay, so we're gonna, let's see. Couple small things, looks like Scott says. Boolean Zen, so I think this is... I took a look over these last night, but I figured I would go ahead and do them on the stream today. Looks like basically this is just don't use the... don't use the if-else, but instead just return the value, return the Boolean expression, which we currently have in the if-else. Which is backwards a little bit how my brain thinks about it, but is all right, and we'll definitely take whatever Scott likes. I guess it is kind of nice that it compresses it down, and then we do have the 3. I like the way how we do still have basically just, well, we have 4 conditions essentially. We have greater than the x, and then less than the x plus the right edge, which we must have, I guess, calculated above somewhere probably. Okay, so we'll collapse that. It is less code, which is nice as well, for sure. Doesn't need any, I guess that would be Python probably that has the slashes at the end of the line there. Fix our sentence there, return with a capital R. We can do that pretty easy. Okay. Actually, those are the only 2, so that should be pretty straightforward. We do need to get back to that branch, which is going to be... That branch, which is... I don't know why it doesn't load all these the first time I open this. I feel like it used to do that. Of course, this is also C-Line, which I have used much less. Let's see here. Let me catch up on the chat a bit as well. Similar, if you look at pilots, a lot get their commercial license, and while they're still taking more training, they start teaching. Exactly. Explaining a concept to someone else forces you to take all the things you take for granted about it, make them explicit. Yeah, that's a really good way to say it. It's a really good way to express that idea. Yeah. Teaching to learn is essential for musicians as well. Nice. Great way to build mastery in any field. Yeah. Totally agreed. So we should have, is it not in this repo? I mean, we could always check it out. That's the thing. It's in a PR, so there is a remote branch for it. I think it probably was in another copy of the project, the CircuitPython project on my computer. I have a couple at this point. What is the branch name? We can just check it out. Branch name. It is TileGrid Contains. That's a pretty good name. Foamy Guy, TileGrid Contains. Check it out. We have these things which are unrelated. This is for something else I'm working on. We have not added them. They're kind of like pasted into the repo here, but they're not added into the repo with git add. They're not added, so they shouldn't get pushed when we do this, which is fine. We can just kind of pretend they're not here for now. Clear. This should show us the branch name. TileGrid Contains. And this stuff is at where? Let's see. This is at TileGrid, inside shared module, around 350. Let's do this thing. Tammy taught me this thing. Tammy in the chat, thank you again for this thing. The what do they call these, though? I did forget the name of what they actually call them. Doesn't say here either. I was thinking it would say what it is. They're like project views. They're like, I don't know. I forgot the name. But basically, you can... choose the files that are most important to you in a given context. Maybe they're called contexts? I don't know. Somebody will put it in the chat, maybe. But these things are awesome, and I've made others of these in some other projects for work and stuff. So thanks again for this tip. This was really cool. Whatever these are called. This one is for display stuff, which is helpful because TileGrid is inside display stuff. So it kind of filters down the files so it's a little more manageable because like the project is kind of big, honestly. So this helps it feel a little smaller and gets you down to, you know, just the specific stuff you're interested in, you know, for a given task or whatever. Sounds good, thank you. Sounds okay, appreciate it. JetBrains scopes, that's the word. JetBrains calls them scopes, which is, I guess, a pretty descriptive name, but it is tough because like it gets potentially confused with scopes of programming. But they have that kind of, they're just going to have that problem of like, because their subject matter is programming, parts of their interface might be a little bit confusing because of it, because you have to kind of wonder if it's ambiguous. Like, does it refer to your program that you're working on, or does it refer to the program that it's in? 350, I think it said somewhere around there, 350. Yeah, so here's our if statement. And so we're basically saying, instead of it, we just want to return, I think it's the exact same expression, right? Git does not show it. Git kind of takes them all as lines. I guess it doesn't have the parentheses either, which makes it a difference. Yeah. That's actually pretty easy. It's the same expression. So we're basically just taking this out of the if and doing return it instead. Let me get rid of this. Okay. And we'll do the other one while we're here as well, and then we'll make a build, we'll test it, we'll do all that kind of stuff. Boolean Zen, apparently they call this. Boolean Zen, returning the expression instead of using the if statement. This one is up in the Docstrings, 320-ish, 325, 6. Well, that can't be right, though. It's in shared bindings, this one, shared bindings. If condition return true, else return true is the same. Yeah, return condition. I tend to prefer that, too. Okay. I can, I'm sure I could probably grow to use it by default. I do probably, if I just, well, I did just sit down to write the code, and I definitely default to doing it with the if-else, but I bet you I could probably learn to love it this way a little better. Let's see. It is more, I guess, succinct maybe is the word. Where's returns here? Isn't this? Oh, we're not quite down far enough. Returns. Is that the only change there? Returns, oh, capital T, true, capital true. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I guess we would want it capital because it's kind of referring to Python true, even though it's in C and it's actually returning lowercase true as a concept. That's kind of interesting. If first two, if the, should it be the? If first two values, it should be the, I think, right? If the first two values in touch tuple represent an XY coordinate inside the tile grid rectangle bounds, period. Also, we don't have the period. True if the first two values in touch tuple represent an XY coordinate inside the tile grid. Tile grids? TileGrids? Colorado. How's it going? Love the factory from Colorado. I think I missed it up there. Yeah, how's it going? Thanks for tuning in. Always appreciate the mountain presence. I expect the compiler to optimize it the same anyway. Note that you could accept the change. Oh, really? Accept the change in the PR? Oh. Wow, that's actually pretty cool. I did not know that. Thank you for the... Was that Neradoc? Thank you for the tip, Neradoc. GitHub. That GitHub is awfully helpful. So we can actually, yeah, we can just... Optional extended. So this is the commit message. Title, they call it apparently. Return expression instead of if. Commit changes. Huh. No, yeah, I totally did not know that. That's actually really cool. I'll make this one and push it because I do want to add the... And maybe TileGrids. Does it feel like this should be TileGrids? Inside the TileGrids rectangle bounds? Just TileGrid. I guess it's singular. It's like a single instance, right? Maybe it, yeah, it probably should be singular. But I guess the S was possessive, not pluralizing. I don't know. I don't know grammar very well, truthfully. Let's see, but it's returning a bool, not the word, so the cap should match the language. Ordinarily, I would say yes. The thing is that because the language we're writing, well, the language we're writing is C, but the program we are writing is essentially a program that parses and executes Python code, and this documentation here is actually going to become or I should say this comment here, while it is a comment currently inside of a C program, it is actually going to get stripped out, and it's going to become the documentation for the Python code. So folks are going to expect this to be what it's called in Python, or what it is in Python. Good question, and yes, ordinarily I would say the comments within a program, it should keep the same syntax for those like cardinal values, like true, false, and that stuff. But in this case, there's that extra layer of like this program is actually kind of writing Python, and the docs get used at that level. Skur's over in the Colorado as well. Nice. I need to get back out there again. It's definitely an amazing place. I do like hanging out on the mountain, in the mountains, I should say, really. Let's see. Compiler optimizing, if that optimizes, yeah. Yep. I guess we'll just leave that singular. But I do think the should be here, so I will commit it from here and push. True if the first two values in... There might be... Is there a way to do... Is there a way to do these? Like, I don't know, what is that? Just code highlighting, right? Is there a way to make this come through as a... Really, there is, probably, right? It's going to just be Sphinx? Sphinx syntax? Is that... I don't actually know what Sphinx syntax is, though. Do any of the rest? I guess maybe some of the others don't. Although these do say true in lowercase on some of them. I don't necessarily want to change too many things with these commits, but I do actually, for all the reasons we talked about, I think uppercase would make sense, probably. Let's see any that do have the... syntax, like code syntax stuff in it. We'll leave them without. Let's see. And if it's me rewriting the docstrings in the core, I would make like 5 mistakes trying to get the format. Yeah, Sphinx is just generally picky, and then when you add this layer of like, it's not only like just directly into Sphinx, but it's also like in comments in C code. It can get tricky for sure. Sphinx docs has its own thing, I believe. Single backticks are for links to other items, but even though I had to fight with it to get what I wanted in the support matrix, I don't quite understand everything. Yeah, I'll definitely second that. There's a lot about Sphinx that I don't quite grok in terms of its syntax. It's kind of like a weird version of Markdown. Some things are sort of Markdown-like, and other things end up being different. Let's see if we can find real quick. Sphinx code highlight? Source code. So we don't want the full example though, right? We don't really want to embed, like this is what we want. Highlight. Highlight directive. I don't know, these feel like they're like headers or something. I want like the word highlight on this page is. Doesn't feel like what this page is actually telling me. Fragments latex? Start after and before? This is like include code blocks, like these yellow blocks. Not quite what we want. Yeah, that's at the paragraph level. What I want is like meta. I want, because I'm sure like this page is probably built with Sphinx. Actually, this is just like this is maybe just a totally other thing though, right? Chiplicity? I don't even know. Didn't realize that wasn't just about Sphinx. Inline syntax highlight. Oh no, extension. Maybe it doesn't, but these are like this, right? They must support that. Python. This one has some backticks. Like installing a library though. Let's try backticks and see if we can build it. It's not the end of the world either if we don't quite get it to do that. That's like kind of cherry on the tip. Double back tips. Double back ticks. That's a tough one. Let's see here. It's not markdown. It's restructured. Okay, RST. RST. Double backticks for simple highlight. That's not a link. Sorry. Yeah, I was got zoned in there and missed a couple of folks. Thank you. Appreciate all of you. Find RST much less obvious than markdown. Yeah, I agree. My brain... It's probably because I use markdown more to some extent, but I do... markdown does feel more natural. A lot of the syntax in there feels like this is how I would do it if I was just guessing and not knowing. Okay, nice. Nice. We will build, too. I think... is there like a make docs or something? How do the docs get built? Oh no, this is showing redx? Maybe it just has the wrong... Oh no, pre-commit failed. Okay, well we'll make sure to run the formatter and stuff, which is helpful because I'm going to commit one from mine as well. Does it say in here about the docs? No. I think it's the same Sphinx command, but is it... Well, no, it can't be, because it's got to, like, pull it out of the C code. Make HTML, that's right. Is there a, like, make... list all the commands? Is there, like, a make help or something? I guess make help would probably be it, right? Make help? Does that list all of them? It does, okay. I don't use... I mean, I use make, I guess, a lot to build CircuitPython and stuff, and I've used it in other projects. But I don't know, I never like formally learned to make. I kind of like find a make command that does the thing I'm trying to do, and that's the one I use. It's kind of the only level I have. There's actually quite a bit, I wonder. Should go through one of these days and look at what all these things do. EPUB. So that makes like the book of the docs, like a ebook style docs page. Crazy. Single large HTML file? Oh my goodness. How big would that be? That would be a lot of text, right? That would be crazy. Make HTML. Oh, just make by itself will give you that. Even easier. Make tab. Oh, tab completion. That's a good idea. Error. Mixgo cplib. Mixgos. File not found. Mixgo cplib. Maybe I need fetch submodules? Oops, this is a dash. Oh, but tab? Oh, tab completion. I don't think I realized that that would tab complete. I mean, I don't know why it wouldn't, but for some reason that never crossed my mind, actually. I think I type that out every time, and I probably will never do it again, now that I know that it tab completes. In Sphinx, make by itself shows you help. Normally it runs the default action. Okay. Let's see, well that's working. I'm gonna see. Is this cable plugged in? Try not to ink the hub off the desk here. Yeah, it sure is. Okay. I think I got some code on the PyGamer here that I might pull off. So after we update this PR, the thing I want to do is work on a little slide puzzle. Anybody ever play with a little slide puzzle? Like this kind of thing, where it's got a picture, or I mean, it looks like there's some with numbers as well. Maybe even the original ones. I think this is based on like an old school toy game thing that might have been this numbered one. But the idea is basically the same with the picture. It's like well, this one's 4x4. For some reason I was thinking 3x3, but really it could be any grid size, and it has an image, or it has the numbers and the colors and stuff like this. And there's one slot open in the grid. There's one open square, and you can you shift them around. So like, on this smiley face, you could shift this one to the left. You could shift this one up, and you could shift this one over, and they all scoot around. I want to make this kind of thing out of a tile grid. And actually, I did already make one. I made it on the PyGamer. But I want to do it on the PyPortal because I think this touch, this contains function. This is like what I think will be a relatively easy example project that will show off like how to use this contains function, like one way to use it and one thing to use it for. So I think that'll be a cool thing to make touch interactable. One of those. We'll get a nice Blinka picture in there. Those puzzles are uber fun. Yeah, I like them. Let's see. Note how help doesn't show you submodule sync command. Fetch submodules? I think it did on the top there because it was added there, but wasn't added to help. Some clever awk code I recycle in my own makefiles that generates help automatically. Oh, that's cool. I do like that. Generate tools that generate documentation automatically are really, really good because sometimes people don't dedicate time to documentation. And if you can, like, automatically generated documentation, it's probably not going to be as good, right? If somebody actually curated the documentation together. But, like, something is better than nothing. And if you have an automated tool that can do it, like, all right, it can give you something that's decent, that's a huge step in the right direction. 1 to 15, been around since the early 1900s. Dang, that's crazy. Early 1900s. So the numbers, I think the numbers and the colors was like the first one, right? The white and red. Or, I mean, it could be any two colors, I suppose, right? Like this looks like a fancier one even. Be interesting to 3D print one of these things too, maybe. Parsing makefiles with awk sounds like a challenge. Definitely would be challenging for me for sure. I haven't used awk very much. Uses a special comment on the make target. Nice. Did I pip install? Maybe not. Did this fail? Yeah, I guess this did kind of fail, didn't it? Or yeah. Well, build finished, but with problems. Error 1. Is that in the root or the requirements doc? Yeah. I mean, well, I would assume I probably have somewhere along the way, but I have no idea when. Oh, that's wrong, right? Stash R or something? She probably put in there. Yeah, you did. Already satisfied? Didn't see the whole list. It might have got something. A math plugin used. Yeah, maybe for Microlab, possibly? Actually, no. Oh, I feel like we got further. Maybe not, though. We get all this stuff? There's so many pretty colors on this thing. I like terminal stuff that outputs nice colors. I guess maybe we got this. This part of it does look familiar. I mean, it looks like we're getting pretty far, though. We're writing index pages. We've done 90% of them. It does get to the end there and then fails. MathJax config. Not work for the current MathJax version. Use MathJax 3 config instead. Is that like is that a pip thing, MathJax, or well, let's look in that file. We'll go back to here, see everything. Requirements doc, math, no math. Possibly I need to just update something like, I don't know, NumPy? Feels like NumPy might be a thing. It's just a warning. Maybe a thing was updated whose version is not pegged. Yeah, that was gonna be my thought, was maybe I have an older version of whatever it is installed. Let's check, where does it actually build though? Because if it did build the pages, then it's also fine to have a warning. I don't care that much. Is it just index or docs? Index. Oh wow, look at that. Choose a browser. Firefox? Well, nice try though. I appreciate the effort. Oink. Oh no. We did this before, didn't we? This feels very deja vu. This Firefox, it doesn't let me open local files. Oh, that is so unnecessary. I think I could just do run, actually, and this would, like, spin up a server. It's really not what I want to do, but... Oh, and we probably just killed the chat there. Let's copy this. That back. Hopefully that fixes the chat. Are we good now? Yep, looking good. Okay. Let's put this one over here. There we go. So TileGrid is going to be what we want. TileGrid. Displayio TileGrid. TileGrid this. 2 matches. TileGrid. Hidden height, weight, width, transpose, bitmap contains. It did, yeah. Double, and I think we were on double ticks, so thank you. I think Shipu or whoever mentioned that. Appreciate it. Double ticks on there. Looks like it did. Can run Python. That's true, yeah. Python, I actually use that quite a bit. Python http.server, something, Python 3h-m http.server. I use that one quite a bit. I used it back in the Python 2 days quite a bit as well. I had to learn a new command when 3 came along. Using a version of this, but with some customized ANSI color codes. Auto-documented makefile. Take a look at that. I've never actually made a makefile. Link address. I think it's just a warning. It ends in an error, though. Yeah, it does look like it ends in a http.serve. Oh, that one's different than the one I've used, I think. HTTP or http.server? Maybe it's .server? I don't know. Now that I'm like actively thinking about it, I don't actually know which thing I type. But I do, like, I use the same one every time, and it comes right to me when I actually need to use it. Interesting. I should look more into Make. It looks like it can do lots of interesting stuff. As far as, like, making a CLI to build stuff for you. Yeah. Thanks for sharing this. Yeah, I do like that. That's definitely a really nice auto-generated thing there. Like, if it's that or nothing, this is, like, super nice. Self-documented makefile. Oh, there was one in the next thing down. Dang it. I scrolled up and up and up looking for an example of one, and there was actually an example in the next one down. Seriously, the next one. Oh, okay, no, actually, they're out of order. Okay, wasn't actually. In the finished page, it's the next one. I feel better about that then, actually. Slice, it must be down here, yeah. Yeah, there it is. Same thing, okay. Anything else we do want to run pre-commit. Oh, pre-commit though, I don't run it anymore, right? We use pre-commit install, which it should be installed. Is there a way to check if you have ran pre-commit install? Could just run it every time. I guess there's probably not a downside of running it again, is there? Check if pre-commit is installed. See, I find this hard too, because this is going to be like, if I have installed it like with pip, probably. Install is just a verb that's already used. Pip install. I think we just run it again, right? There's no harm in running it again. Pre-commit install. Install that. And so then if I go to make a commit, it will run it for me. We'll check my changes here. Returns true if the, and period at the end. And then also some formatting on that return, I think. Yeah, it looks like pre-commit Clang or whatever the C formatter. Oh no, Oh, no, I didn't forget that. That's part of the change, right? Because it was the parentheses. We should run it, too, though, before we commit, I guess, right? We should make sure it actually works. make board PyPortal Titano clean J4. All right, we'll make sure this works. Let's plug this in. Oh, I gotta get this plugged in too as well. Let's see, let me catch up on the chat here as well. Instant PWD HTML server changed in Python 3. Yeah, that's what I remember. That took me a while to learn the new command. I had it memorized for years and years with Python 2. That plugged in. Oh wow, look at that. That was actually kind of fast. 33 seconds it took to build that. Dang. And I did a clean before that? Did it actually clean? That's pretty crazy, actually. Okay, so then let's get to bootpy. Or boot, portal boot, I guess this one is. CP build firmware. Media? Portal? Yep, copy that. I use makefiles for fiction writing. Interesting. Write in Markdown and or LaTeX and have makefiles to build the PDF and ebooks. That's a really smart idea. I like that. I use, I don't have a makefile for it, but for a work project, we do all of our documentation in Markdown, and then we use a Python tool called mkdocs. I think it's Python. I run it with Python at least. We use a tool called mkdocs. I know that's the name of it, and it builds the Markdown file. It's kind of like Sphinx in a way. It builds the Markdown files into HTML pages, and then those get served alongside of our system. And I have a Python script that I run that builds it, but nothing as fancy as make. That would be a good spot for it, though. That might be a good place for me to learn about it, is re-implement that part of it. Used to use makefiles in place of source management program. I had a command that would tar gzip the current source with a date and a name before there was GitHub. I'm guilty of like Dropbox was my first like source management version control thing, because they had it would keep a history for you, and it was all just automatic, and I used it on multiple computers, and I just put my projects in there and it synced it across for me. It's definitely not anywhere near as nice as actual version control, but it got me by for quite a while. The other makefiles in CircuitPython run all by default, and you can run more than one actions at a time. So you can do... Oh, interesting. Okay, so you can just always get clean builds by adding clean all at the end. Interesting. They do all by default. Does it have to go in that order? It feels like the clean should come before the make, but does it go in reverse order or something? Let's see, we got this installed. Let's go to our device thing here. Am I caught up to? Yeah, we're caught up there. Okay, let's get this. And let's see, no idea what would be in CodePy right now. Looks like nothing on the screen. Oh, is the camera working too? Kind of doubt it, right? We're having trouble with the camera sometimes these days. Page is working. Browser. Gonna crash on me? Yep. Let's see if we're gonna get it. Hopefully hopefully it'll... It's been coming back to me after I kind of just relaunch it a couple of times. It's not a good place to be, but could be worse, I guess, if it didn't work at all. Okay. Turn the light on or whatever if we need to later, if it's like too washed out for us, but this is good for now. Last couple of streams I've been trying to keep the camera in its own window over here, so I'm getting a little bit better at juggling with it to actually go back to it correctly when that's what I'm trying to do, but not quite all the way there, so I'll try it. I'll keep up with that today. Let's see, make board clean all is equivalent to make board clean, make board all. Oh, I see, okay. Board clean, semicolon, make board all. It's not clean all, it's clean and then all, I see. Cleaning after all makes no sense, I see. Cleaning after, oh, let me check what this says. 1 second here. Let's see. This is going to be over here. Nice. Okay. Sorry, slight delay. This has been the first week of new developer at work. So I'm the lead and was for just a little while there the only developer. So we got another developer back. I had a partner for a little while, but she left us, and then this was the first week of the new developer. So I've been working very, very closely with him to get him up to speed. He's checking in with me there. How to publish HTML docs on the internet, assume SharePoint or Microsoft Shop. So I don't know, I can't really tell you too much about SharePoint or Microsoft Shop. I don't know really anything about either of those two things. Publishing HTML docs on the internet, though, is actually, it's relatively straightforward. I will say what you need is a computer with a, you need a computer with a public IP, right? So you can, like, usually people will pay for either hosting or server or something like that, and it will come with a public IP. And then you can put your HTML on there, and then there's actually lots of different programs that will serve it for you. There's also services that will let you host it without you needing to care about what program it uses, right? They'll just have like an upload thing for you to put it. Actually, speaking of, you can actually use, if your HTML, if it doesn't have, I mean, it depends what it does. There are pages that won't work like this, but static HTML pages, you can host them in GitHub. Like, for instance, well, I mean, CircuitPython.org, right? I think. If not CircuitPython.org, definitely awesome CircuitPython. CircuitPython.org. I'm pretty sure this gets hosted inside of GitHub. Like, it just, the HTML is in a repo somewhere on a branch, and it loads this page for us. It's got a, you know, a URL that like redirects it there, you know, but I think that's GitHub. If not this one, definitely awesome CircuitPython, which I don't know. Is that the right address for it? Python? Or that one may even be a GitHub address. Well, this is the repo. There's a page too, though, isn't there? I think there's a page. Am I misremembering that? I feel like there's a page. Is it linked from here? Awesome. Here we go. Oh, okay, it's part of CircuitPython.org. Okay. But it is a static HTML page, and I am pretty sure it's served on GitHub. I don't know the exact place or branch where it comes from, but I believe that this type of static page is all served on GitHub. So that's one way you can do it as well, which is nice because GitHub is free for public projects up to some point, which a point I haven't hit, so definitely free for a lot. I have a lot of repos on GitHub. The way I found, unfortunately, is do PDFs. Yeah, there's lots of devices have PDF support, even though it's kind of a weird closed thing, sort of. Microsoft sells SharePoint like it's an application. Yeah, I use my repo. Yeah, that's what I've done for like basic stuff, is just host it on GitHub. Like, want to share that? Yeah, I can share that. Teach links. .xyz. This is like ugly basic page, but this is a static HTML page and it's hosted in GitHub. I use this page of links for some classes that I teach sometimes. Yeah, that's what it is. Pages.github. That's the exact service that uses. Yeah, thanks for the link there. You know, it's Microsoft Server infrastructure is just generally hostile. Well, I mean, that's true. I will say, though, I mean, like, there are so many faces to Microsoft, right? Like, GitHub is also Microsoft at this point, and GitHub Pages works pretty good for hosting that kind of stuff. So it's not like maybe Microsoft proper, I would grant, but there are different facets of it, and I think just different tools are going to be better or worse for different things. And amongst their vast profile of stuff, there are some that are going to be pretty good for that, and there are some that are going to be pretty annoying for that, probably. Let's see here. So we need to test that with, we should have, I think there's like just TileGrid touch test or something, right? Probably. Well, it's going to be not in here, though. It's going to be device workspace. TileGrid contains test. That sounds promising. Yeah, purple bitmap. Put it on the screen. Put it somewhere. Tell us if we're touching it or not. That sounds like what we want. Let's copy that. Let's put that in CodePy. What is in CodePy? We have raw sample stuff. This was testing for the brightness PWM thing. It's not quite the exact, is it? I don't know. I guess there's a compare in here. See how close it is to this. Okay, it's pretty close. Just the comments are the only difference, pretty much. Okay. So we'll just keep the other one. We can just erase this. We don't need this. Instead, let's get this one. TileGrid contains. Put it in there. Save it. Back to our camera. There's our flowers, which are purple in real life, but looking a little washed out there. Not too bad, though. Where is the stylus today? Oh, right over there. So we'll need the printouts as well. REPL, like right here, maybe. We can touch on that. Let's see what we get. Touching flowers, nice, doing good. And out there we get outside, 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 outside. Eventually, touching flowers. Looking pretty good to me. I think another good basic example of this might be like drag and drop. Like have a tile grid that you touch and move it around. Just stays on the screen, but beyond the bounds of the screen, or I should say within the bounds of the screen, it can just move around anywhere. Okay. See here, GitHub Pages is available for private repos with paid GitHub Pro enterprise subscriptions. Yeah, I can't tell you too much on the private repos. That part of it I don't have any experience with. All mine are public repos. I feel like in general, and there's exceptions, Microsoft products which they acquired tend to be more user-friendly than those they develop themselves. Yeah, I'd probably agree with that for the ones that I use as well. Yeah, I don't find, I mean, at this point, I guess the only one of theirs I use directly is Teams with any regularity. And it's definitely not my favorite program to interact with by a long shot. So it looks like everything is fine here. We will do the pre-commit, but that should happen automatically when we do actually make the commit. So we tested this out, and it does still work. We're going to go to make our commit. it put in an extra line or something here. Oh, actually, I never pulled. Let me pull that change that we did on the page. Yeah, that's what we want, actually, because we want to take the change from GitHub for that part of it. I'll just do take remote if it has a conflict. Fetching? What are we doing here? It does like push to that branch, right? I'm misunderstanding how that works. Yeah, it looks like it did. Okay. Oh, it's going. Branch protection rules. What? No protection, just pull. Update project. This bar is like one of the most useless things in JetBrains IDEs. I love the IDEs, I do. There's lots of parts of them that I love, but this bar, I love. It just says updating. It doesn't tell you anything else, and then it's like you click on it, you expect more stuff, and you get like one extra word, update project, instead of just update. Nothing extra. And this bar, it's like it never really fills in. It always just does this kind of plasma thing. That may not come through the stream, truthfully. I don't know, are we like stuck or something? Are we having so much trouble? I mean, I guess I never pulled main either. It's not updating main and doing a bunch of stuff, is it? Okay, finally, here we go. Oh, I can't close this now? Interesting. Because this is in front of it technically, but not actually. That's funny. You do it over here? No. Okay, well, you can hang out there for a minute. We want remote. We just want to take remote all the way. Remote. None of that. Why? Okay. Now we can finally try to commit, and then it will run pre-commit before it does actually do the commit. Fix contains Docstring. Drawbar disguised as a progress bar, yeah. Yeah, it totally is. Fix contains Docstring. Maybe we'll say TileGrid. Okay, and then I believe this will fail the first time it tries. Or not. So why did it fail pre-commit up here, though? Ah. See. Thank you, Scott. I don't know if Scott's watching, but thank you, Scott. What, why does it not catch that, though? Because I did a pre-commit install just a minute ago. And then I did make a commit. And it didn't fail. Doesn't look like it ran, truthfully. Am I like in the wrong directory? Does it not work if you're in the wrong directory? I was in the root though, I think. Commit install? Huh. Okay, well that changes how I thought I knew about how that worked. Changes what I thought I knew about how that worked, I should say. Where was that actually at? That was in module 350-ish. Oh, you know what? It doesn't... Okay. It doesn't think that it's one of my changes because I pulled it from GitHub, so my local pre-commit doesn't know that I made that change, and so it's not running the formatting against that file, basically, or against that part of that file at the very least. So if I ran pre-commit run all, it would run, which actually I can do that because it will. For a while, I was not using pre-commit run all because I thought it was formatting a bunch of extra files that were different. They weren't formatted the way my thing was spitting them out in main, so then it was causing a bunch of extra differences. I figured out, though, I had the wrong version of something, black, or I think it was black because it was Python code, but I don't actually know for sure what it was. I had the wrong version of something, I updated it, and then it was back to being the same as main. So actually, if we do run pre-commit run all, all, should not, it should fix the thing that was wrong, and it should not have a ton of extra changes. Yeah. Okay. Push successful. There we go. Did I actually ever put my test code in here? I don't actually have my test code in here. Probably should, so there's at least somewhere with it. It's kind of a weird thing because it's not a library specific, so there's not like a great repo place for it. I guess Learn Guide repos or something somewhere, but I don't know. It looks like I think I stole it actually from the displayio Learn Guide and just added the one extra part to it with the touch call there. There we go. Scott's making a guest appearance reviewing today on the deep dive. Let's see. Till they kill them like Skype, yeah. Absorb into something else, yeah. Okay. We'll let this one go. It'll take a while, I'm sure, to do the checks on it, run the actions, but looks like we're pretty good there. I think, did Scott mention also groups, maybe? Yeah, groups would be cool. You agree with that as well? Yeah, I think it would be nice to have this on group too. Group is a slightly trickier one because it has scale. And it's actually Actually, group is a lot trickier because it doesn't have width. I think that's right. Let's look, though. Did I pass it? I must have passed it, right? Because these are before G in the alphabet. E, F, G. Yeah, there it is. So it does have a scale, which makes it a little trickier. It does have an XY, but it does not have a width property. I mean, it doesn't have a width property that you can access. Like intrinsically, it does have a width. It does still represent a rectangle on the display, but in order to find the width of it, you would need to loop over all the child elements inside of it, all the things in the group, and you would need to find their XY and their width as well. How's it going, Scott? Thank you for the review. I appreciate you. Yeah, group would be trickier. Group would be really cool though. I think that probably starts with adding a width property, otherwise the code inside contains is going to get pretty gnarly, but actually having a width on group would be really helpful as well, even aside from contains, because you could also do stuff like it would make it easier to put it into the middle, like center it in the display, if it had a width and height that you could look up. And I think the way is you would loop over all those elements and then find the one that has the maximum X plus width, and then also the one that has the maximum Y plus height. The X and Y are the top left corner. I think there's a diagram type thing in this. I want to say. If not this one, well, there's one in label, but label is actually a little bit different. Maybe bitmap? XY, the XY point is basically the top left corner of the tile grid, is what we were talking about a moment ago, but this is bitmap, but it works the same essentially. Top left corner of the rectangle is where the XY is at. Figured from a guy was streaming after replied so fast. Yeah, group should just call contains of its children. Oh. Interesting. Then there will be a region that is inside the group but outside the children, I think, right? Because you have a group with a big rectangle representing the group, but then a small part of it, like in the bottom. Call contains on its children. That is a way to do it, though. It would be nice to be able to loop through all of them and do that as well. Actually, that's not a rectangle. Where's rectangle? Well, we have a rounded group, but if you have a group and then if you had like one thing inside the group that was down here. Whoops. Because then the full group has to be the whole thing, but only this would be contains true if it looped over its children. And so then if you touch here, it would not register. Group is more of a coordinate space. Yeah, I remember I've seen your description of it somewhere. I don't know if it was an old PR or somewhere. I have read an old description of yours of it though, the coordinate space. Yeah, it's kind of like a coincidence that it happens to also represent a rectangle on the display. It does just because of the nature of pixels, but it's kind of like secondary to its functionality. Okay, so let's try to let's look on the PyGamer, because I think I have code that does roughly what we want, and we could translate it to make it work on the PyPortal using our new contains method. We could actually also, probably modify the PyGamer one if we wanted. It uses cursor control, which probably also could call contains, I think. Let's see what's on here. What would I have called that? Probably slider puzzle, hopefully. This is the wrong, is this right? This is the wrong device. I don't trust this. Refresh. Okay, not the wrong, well, it is the wrong device, but it's because there's two, which makes sense. Don't think of group as having bounds, it just contains children. Yeah, I see it the same way, but it does, because its children have definite bounds themselves, it ends up kind of like, it does have bounds, it just doesn't know about its own bounds. But it could always like loop over all its children and then find out what its real bounds are, or what its like functional bounds are. Not even real, because they're aside from being real. Truthfully, they're not part of its real existence, but they just kind of intrinsically exist. I think slider game. There we go. Slider puzzle. And then we still have this in TileGrid test, so we can just leave that contains test rather, so we don't need to keep it. Put this over. This will probably, it should fail the first time because I don't have the right picture file. Oh, and it's also still set up for cursor control. So let's hack it up a bit to not use cursor control. Well, let's run it once on the PyGamer and you can see what it does. I talked about it earlier and it's pretty straightforward if you've ever played those slider games, but we might as well show it as well, right? Let's do that. I put this over here. We'll go to the PyGamer. Gamers here. We'll take whatever. This is some kind of radio stuff. This is yeah, this is my radio message program thing. I think RFM random message pack. What did I call this? It was like mail, something mail, serial mail, CLI, something. I think I don't have a copy of it anymore, actually. It'd be in the repo somewhere, but radio R? Is there R's for radio mail? Nope. Okay. So I'll make a copy. Code radio mail CLI. This is like LoRa Radio's very, 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 very primitive email program type thing with an inbox and send to addresses and that sort of thing. Very rudimentary, though. Okay, so we have this Blinka photo, but the Blinka is all split up, and the right parts are not next to each other. And you kind of cursor around, and you can click each one, and it will scoot it to the available space. Some of the tiles are tough to see. Like this one doesn't have much on it, right? Only the right side of the cupcake there is a little sliver. And I think this program doesn't, oh, clicking the wrong button, that's why. I think this program does not, it doesn't play fair. I think it will give you a jumble that's not actually solvable. So this is probably not actually solvable, truthfully. Eventually what I did is I implemented the B button, the other button, to be a cheater thing. So you can go B button, click on a tile, go to the empty space, B button, click on that, and it jumps the tile there for you. So I gave a little cheater way to finish it. What we really need to do is change the logic, though. So when it jumbles it, it jumbles it into an order that's guaranteed to have a a solution. I think the easiest way is just make it use its own rules and just jumble a bunch of things just make a bunch of random movements. Tracking bounds could be a good optimization. I'd be down for that. I probably will tackle it one of these days, because I would really like for a group to be easier to center. Like if you have a group that is smaller than the display, it'd be nice to be able to center it in the middle or vertically, either way. I like calling contain on the children. That way a group can be a sprite with a complex shape. Yeah. Complex shape. I know. Let's see. Be a sprite with a complex shape. Well, I think it will always be a rectangle. Well, I guess, it's not necessarily supposed to be one way or the other, I guess. In my mind, I suppose I think of it as a rectangle. I think of it like, oh, I erased it. I think of it like this. Well, we could make this one square. Send this one to the back. So in my mind, I think of a group like this. Like the blue one would be a group, and then the red one would be like a tile grid inside the group, and you could have multiple ones, and they're placed wherever they're at. Maybe one is up here, and maybe one is, over here, or wherever they're at. And these can be different shapes and sizes, of course. And they could be tile grids, or they could be labels, or they could be, on-disk bitmaps. Well, actually, on-disk bitmaps just use tile grids, but shapes, vector IO things, they can be all of those things. Group isn't meant to have a shape, it's more to move things together. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. So this code works fine on the gamer, of course. So we'll switch it over. Can unplug this? Did I save one? I saved one onto the PyPortal? Yeah, I think I did, right? Because we ran it and it failed because it didn't have cursor control. Yeah, okay. Let's unplug the gamer. Yeah, there it is. We will turn off the gamer, which I almost always forget to do when I use it, because I forget it has a battery in there. Well, not by default, but mine does. Gotta feed this cord through without wrecking anything here. Oh no, camera died. Oh, let's see. Very blurry. I still have this one. Actually still hooked up. Focus. Yeah, sure is. Surprised that still works, because this is just like on a page in the browser, just hanging out over there. And the whole server went away, but the page still sends post back when it's down. Odd parity. Each tile is a child. If you were talking about in this example, like all these red ones would be, yeah, they would be children of the group. So the blue one represents the group, and then the red ones represent the children. And then really the outer bounds, like in my mind, the way it works is the outer bounds actually line up perfectly. So like in this case, it would actually be more like this. The bottom line is at the bottom of the lowest child, and the right edge is at the rightmost edge of the furthest, to the right child. And the shadow is obviously not part of this. That's just kind of default way this drew, but this is kind of how my brain thinks about group. In the actual API, though, it doesn't know its own width or its own height like that. It's not meant to have the shape. It's really just meant to tie all of these, children together to give them that common, well, two things: scale and coordinate space. That way you can move them all together and then scale them also if you wanted to go bigger on the scale of them. Contain in the computer programming sense, not visual in my mind. Literally grouping things. What does it mean practically? What's the use case of contain XY on the group? My use case would be making a super fancy button. You had a button that was a group containing like a background thing, a middle ground thing, and a foreground thing or something. You wanted all of those layered together. Theoretically, though, I guess at least one of those is a tile grid probably, so maybe that's not as good of a use case as I thought it was, truthfully. Cursor control. So let's cut that out. We're on the PyPortal one. I unplugged the PyGamer. So that's going to cause red wherever we use cursor. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. That's going to make more red down here where we try to use it. So here is where we'll have all touchscreen stuff instead. TS, we need to initialize. There we go. Display. Do we have display? Yes. Touchscreen import. Could return a child instead of true false. Ooh, that would actually be really nice. Then you could have multiple buttons inside of it. Just call one function and get back the one that was touched. That I would like, actually. That would be really nice. Because right now the logic right now gets kind of hairy. If you have multiple things on the screen, you end up with a bunch of like, does this thing contain the touch point? Does that thing contain the touch point? Does the other thing? It gets even weirder too with like the tab layout or the page layout that I had been working on a couple weeks back, because then it's like, you know, not only does this thing contain the touch point, but like, is it also relevant right now? Is it on the display right now versus not? If we had logic like that, where it could tell you, the parent thing could tell you which child thing is being touched. There's only one group visible at a time with those layouts, and so you could just get the currently visible group, ask it which thing is being touched, and then handle that touch. That would actually be super nice. For the as a way for the logic to work is for like API touches, the API for touches rather, for reacting to touches. I do like that. We don't really need this anymore. Cursor is clicked. I think I don't really need that. We can have if p, and then I think what we can have is like if p, and then we should have TileGrid, so we can say if TileGrid dot contains, new function dot contains p, then we're going to go inside there and do this. And alt click we'll worry about later. Alt click was my cheater button. Really though, you wouldn't need a cheater button if I fixed the logic to make it give you a fair playing board anyway. And then the only other thing we have here was this was getting the mouse cursor X and Y in order to basically tell you within the tile grid which actual individual tile within the grid got touched. And so this, basically it's going to be P, but of course it doesn't have X, Y, it's just 0 and 1. I need to update my stubs. That may be all we need to make this functional. It's still going to be cheater. It's still not going to... It's going to give you boards that are not solvable. But I think it will function. Oh, well, we don't have the image still, though, actually, so it'll crash because it doesn't have the image. Yeah. Should have left the PyGamer in. That in. Turn it back on. Back a little bit. There we go. Here. Oh, refresh. There we go. We could use a bigger one of these on the PyPortal as well. This one is whatever size the display on the Pygamer is. I think actually it's a little smaller. Yeah, there's a little bit of bar that's not used actually. What size is this actually? Blink a slider. 160 by 120. I think 160 by 128 is the Pygamer display, if I recall correctly. I'll plug that. I do like, when I think about that, I do like the idea of looping the children. So we would basically need, there are a few other children that would need contains, because I think there's a few other things that can go in a group. Shape? Does shape use a tile grid, or does shape go instead of a tile grid? I always forget about shape. I still have the displayio docs. Shape is a lesser used one anyway, truthfully. So shape. Ah, right. This one doesn't have an example here. There is an example of this somewhere. Actually, I started a repo of examples. Did I ever put shape ones in there? There is a repo in CircuitPython org of core examples. Module examples. I don't know that if I put shape, displayio. It does have shape in here. Simple test. Ah, you use a tile grid still, so that would actually work. That would work fine. I assume, as long as this tile grid knows, it must know the shape size, I guess. Vector IO maybe? Vector IO objects? Those can get added directly to groups, I think, right? Planted the seed of an idea. Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, a lot. I mean, in this case, a lot more of the seed, right? Because it's all built on displayio, which is also all part of CircuitPython. So definitely planted a lot in this forest for sure. See, it looked like this looks like it's working here. So it's kind of small, and the white washes out the screen quite a bit, and it's all tucked up into the corner. We don't consider all of those things though, and we try it. Oh, it worked once. Tile index out of bounds. Oh, okay, I think tile index out of bounds. Interesting. 94. When we print. Interesting. Clicked tile. It's been a while since I wrote this code. Divide. I wonder if we're like off by one error. Let's rerun it and just see if I touch outside of it. Because this should also be limiting it to only when I touch the full thing. If any objects in a list, short circuits too. Oh, was a comment back to here. I don't think I saw this actually. In short circuit the O, stop iterating as soon as any child returns true. Oh, inside of contains, yeah, stop running after it. Yeah, that's a good point. So the for loop, you can have a way to bail. Yeah, I did miss that one. It's definitely true though. Okay, so if we click outside, does this crash? Or only if we click inside on something that it's not liking for some reason? No, it's fine out here. Okay. So we clicked once and that worked. Hasn't crashed. Click again and that worked. The left edge. File index is out of bounds. feel like we should print clicked tile also. We're getting a -1 maybe? Have something that was 1 based before and it's 0 based now or something? That's kind of what this is feeling like. CPython at least, I think any takes an iterator. I don't know if you need to use the list, you need iterator or generator. Oh, we got it out of the gate that time. It was out of index. 2-3. Was that our print? Okay, I'm trying to use f strings. Trying to remember to use f strings. I have to like consciously think about it, but I don't know if I showed this last time. Oh. 3-3 that time. So it's not the left edge that's my problem, it's the bottom edge. Wait, what? Oh, okay. This camera feed died again. I was like, that's different. Okay. I've got to get my downshooter sorted out. This phone, I don't know what's going on. Last couple of weeks though, this phone just cannot keep running this camera thing like it has been the whole time. Tried like rebooting it and a couple of different things. Had no luck. There we go. Generators are still hard. Well, let me check on this real fast as well, actually. Linux. Yeah, I can do that. Generators are hard for me to reason about in my head. Need to build a few to solidify. Just a for loop rotated by I/2 into the imaginary domain. Okay. So I'm going to try the top one here. Actually, I get it right away with that one. And we said 4-2. Harder for me to aim this way. Light's kind of reflecting it back on me. Oh, we are getting some weird stuff for sure. We may need to, oh, you know what we need to do actually is we need to use the calibrated touch values. Yeah, these are the defaults. We need to use the calibrated ones and we'll get this much better behaving, I bet. I still don't quite know why it's crashing. I suspect it's kind of picking up the touch further out than it really is, and that's causing it to crash, although I don't quite get exactly why that does cause it to crash. I would think it would be bound still and not have an index out of bounds, but it seems that I am wrong. Where I swear I have touchscreen calibrate. Or code touch calibrate. So this I also dealt with on the stream recently as well, if folks are interested in this project. This is a thing that C. Grover made, member of the community. that will help you calibrate your touchscreen for you. We did some testing and some reviews on this, I think, on a couple streams last week. Folks are interested in this tool and kind of the history on how it works and what it's used for and stuff. Okay, that's looking much better. Oh, I got the thing paused here. Let's see. Oh, okay, not for too long, luckily. Contains XY group for child and group children. Yield. Child contains XY. Oh yeah, so write it as a an iterator there. Can we do like yield stuff from the C level? Can we have like the Python concept of yield, but it's coming from the C code? Should look into it like async IO or something. I guess I haven't really looked at any of that part of the core, if it is, if there's anything like that in the core. Okay, so let's see if we're still getting some outlandish stuff here. The other thing is we could make this bigger. I do think I mean, the easiest way to make it bigger would be to scale the group that it's inside of. But that would throw off some of the math for the clicked tile. This would need to multiply by the scale somewhere. Would fit the screen nicer though. We could also find a bigger bitmap too. The cool thing about this is you can actually just put any bitmap you want, right? So my bitmap is Blinka with this little clue thing on it, right? The magnifying glass. And then I also put the cupcake one in there as well. But you can do any bitmap. There might be code referencing the size, I guess. I'll have to do that maybe. There could be code that's like based on the size. We can make that dynamic, but essentially it's very easy to swap in your own. So the idea is like hopefully people could take this project and make their own slider puzzle out of it. Not necessarily just always use Blinka. I gotta tilt this because I cannot see with the glare. Oh yeah. Yeah. Works way better now. Way better. I haven't crashed at all either. But that's so weird. I mean, there must be a place on the edge. Okay, on the very edge does crash. Very edge. This feels off by 1. Probably the very bottom edge crashes too, right? Surely. Let me catch up on the chat here. Oh, also, Gordy G over on YouTube, if it doesn't have a size, you shouldn't be able to see it. I'm not sure where we were at when you said that. Sorry, I just noticed it. Lower level, contain iter, init, iter, next. Any, contain iter. Nice. Yeah, I'll second what Tammy, I think it was, said up here. Yeah, generators. I don't have a lot of experience writing any. I think I probably would, if I did sit down and solve a few problems using generators, probably would have a much better mental picture of how they work. I've used them a few times, but it's only been a very few times. Okay, let's try. Oh, bottom edge. That's what I was gonna do. Bottom edge. Huh, no, I don't actually crash on the bottom edge. Oh, left edge? No, left edge works fine. Only right edge. Yeah, we must be off by 1, right? We must be going further. So it says click tile 4.1. Yeah, we shouldn't have an index 4, right? Because it's we got the whole star together there. 0, index 1, index 2, index 3, index. So we should only have 3. Generators only generate the next thing as you need it. So when we crash it, it's because it gets to 4, which means that the touch X divided by the tile width, which is, well, we know our width of our image is 160, and we know we have four tiles, so each tile is 40 pixels. So our touch X divided by 40. What is the actual E also? Let's do that. Feels like we're just touching like the very last pixel. And that is making us divide and be one index too high. Of course, now it's not going to do it. There we go. Okay. Yeah, we touched exactly on 160. Exactly on 160. And then because we also didn't have the touchscreen calibrated before, some of our other touches weren't lined up exactly with where the stylus was at, which means we probably registered at 160. So the real question is, though, does that mean there's a bug in contains? Because that does feel like a bug in contains, right? 159 should be the last pixel that returns true, shouldn't it? I think so, shouldn't it? Oh, it wants a third thing here. It's gonna ignore it though. Yeah. True. False. What about 0? 0, 0? True. 160. What was the height? 120? True. Yeah, I think that's a bug, right? TileGrid that is 160 by 120. It's at 0, 0, so its top left corner is 0, 0 on the display. Which means its far right edge is pixel X index 159. Which means 160 is outside. It does not contain 160. Equal. Yeah. We didn't account for the 0 based X, but the sort of 1 based tile width, if you think about it that way, because you can't really have a 0 tile. So these ones should be less than. But these ones should still be equal because 0, 0 is, that should be true. That does contains. If it's in the top left corner. If we moved it further away, of course it wouldn't, but yeah. This is the wrong one with the build thing. Nice. I'm glad this project uncovered a bug. Hopefully that, well, it wouldn't have finished running actions or anything, right? This is still here as a PR, isn't it? Yeah. One more change coming. I can't believe I hit the exact edge of that too. I did do all of my testing on this. I did do with the touchscreen. So I did not, I probably should have tested the edge cases better. I should have specifically tested 0 and the exact width. Probably negatives and stuff as well, honestly. What does it do if we give it negatives? That doesn't cause, like, I mean, it should be false, but it... I put it to bootloader mode. Yeah, we can't check it right now because it's in bootloader mode. Luckily, we are finished here. Copy, yep, do that. This is the wrong file. Okay, so this should be false now. Yay! False now. And like that should still be false like this. Indeed. Yep. Negatives. -1. Yeah, false, no problem. One thing I don't know, like, none? Not a number? I don't know what that's gonna do. Okay. Could be a lot worse. This is the other, like, this kind of stuff I probably should have been in the habit of testing, but, oh, wait, what's the problem? Oh, we're inside a string. Inside a string. That. And convert string to int. I already saw it though. Yeah. Okay, that's fine too. Okay, those are all fine. And now 0, 0 is true, but 160, 120 is false, which is what we want. True. Yep. False. 159 is still true. Whoa. 159. Still true. Yes. Okay. Whoop. Too many. The right and bottom edges of TileGrid contains. So this should run pre-commit automatically. But it should have passed, right? If we run it manually, we should have no changes. Pretty sure that's supposed to be running automatically. And if it fails, then it won't. This will not succeed. It will. I don't know. It pops up a thing down here somewhere. I think is where the error comes. So yeah, we did pass. So we should be good. So I'm gonna push that. It's got the one change. No more equals. Yep, looks good. Push. Okay. So unfortunately that does mean the actions are all going to run again, but luckily we actually have the right logic now, which is good. Okay. 5:53. That's probably about it. We're probably going to wrap it up here. I do still have a few minutes, so if there's like any questions or comments or anything in particular somebody wants to talk about or ask about or anything like that, I'm happy to do that. I'll play around with this for another minute or two here. But I think that's pretty much where we're going to wrap it up for today. Got the whole cupcake together there. That's pretty nice. Well, not the... We're missing the very top of it, but we got a lot of the cupcake together. I think maybe this little... Let's see, where is the last part of the cupcake, actually? I guess the 2, I think. I don't have an easy way to get it over there, though. I will say it does... I think I'm touching it with my other finger, too, though. I'm having trouble aiming quite right. Yeah, there we go. As soon as if I look at it instead of trying to look at the screen and like count for the angle and everything, I hit it and it does work pretty good actually. No, yeah, the cupcake doesn't fit with that. I don't know where. Oh, I guess, well, the 2. I suppose the 2 is the top, but I don't think we can get it up there because of the way that it's generating a bogus thing, basically. It's generating a version of the puzzle. Basically, it would be like if you actually had one of these puzzles, if you broke all the pieces out and then put them back in the wrong order. Put them back in an order that isn't valid, basically, that doesn't have an actual solution. The way it's doing it, I didn't really look over the code. I'll run through the code real quick because we do have a few minutes here. And it's pretty basic code, as I recall correctly. So we initialize our touchscreen. This is all new stuff we added today. We load up the image, which is our BMP file. In our case, it's that Blinka with the cupcake and the star and the magnifying glass. We create a tile grid to hold our bitmap. Let's see here. So we're getting a group and then looping over basically all the indexes that are in our tile grid. Our tile grid is 4x3. Therefore, it has 12 indexes. We're looping over 0 through 11, essentially. Just adding them to the list. That seems... Gotta be honest, that seems a little wonky, right? I wrote this code a while ago. Because we could always just use range, right? Why would we need these in a list? In fact, we just loop again right here. Suspicious, we'll see. Put them all in a list. Oh, okay, so I see. It's putting them in the list, that way it can, like, it's like it's taking them out of the hat. It's like, it put them all in the list, and then it's going to choose one at a time. And by taking it back out of the list, it's making sure that it doesn't get chosen again next time. That's what's happening. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of weird. There's probably a better way to do this. That's how it works, though. We're putting those indexes in this list, then we're looping over the same range here, the 0 through 11. We're looping it again. We're choosing a random choice from our tiles list, our numbers, 0 through 11. So we're choosing a random one of those indexes. We are setting the tile inside the tile grid at I. So the first one will be the top left one. We're setting it to our choice. Whatever our random index was, we put it there. We remove the choice from the list. That way we can't choose it again next time. We print for some debugging there. And then it's just going to iterate over and over and do the rest of them. So it'll put the first tile first, choose a random one, fill it in. Choose a random one for the next one, fill it in. Choose a random one for the next one, fill it in. Eventually it will go down to the next row. Do the same thing, right, like that. On the 11th tile, the very last one, it will set it to the blank tile index, which in this case happens to be 11. This is making a rectangle for the background. So the reason why the background is white is because we have created a palette for our rectangle. We put the white color on our palette, created a rectangle. put our white palette in it, we set it to the display width and display height, so it's the exact size of the display, put it inside of our group, and then we put our tile grid inside of our group on top of that. So we have our white background behind, we have our puzzle tile grid in the foreground, we show that group on the display. We don't actually have alt-click anymore, but the PyGamer version did. Find blank neighbor, this function will look at the 4 neighbors of a given location in the grid, and it will return the location of the one that is the empty tile. And if it does not find one that is the empty tile, i.e. if the location you passed it is not next to the empty tile, then it will return none. So if it's next to the empty tile, it'll return you the location of that empty tile. If it's not next to it, then it will return none rather. Swap tiles, this will basically, take the thing from one index and put it into the other location. Take the index from one location in the tile grid and swap it into a different location. That's the cheater. We probably don't need this in our version of the game either. That's like the alt click that I showed you that allowed you to just kind of take the tile out and put it back in if you were going to cheat at that game. And then this is actually the part we did already during the stream. So that's getting the touch point from the driver, if it actually got touched, if it's inside the tile grid, including our new off by 1 fix, finding out which specific cell within the grid it got touched. Again, we don't use that right now. Alt-clicked, bunch of print statements. Look for the blank tile. Look for the blank tile at all of our neighbors. If we found it, then call swap tiles with it. Oh, so we do actually need that. And then sleep for half seconds. And then there's another small sleep down there. But that's all there is to it. Pretty straightforward program. Is there any documentation that describes how bindings are implemented in CircuitPython? What do you mean by bindings? Good question. Yeah, I'm not sure either. My best guess as to what that means is maybe the shared bindings, like if you were making your own new part of the API. But that seems like a long shot possibly also, so I'm not sure. I will surely mess that up if I do try to say the first part of it. I do appreciate you, though, over there in Sweden. Great watching. Thank you, Axel Magnus, over on YouTube there. Definitely appreciate you tuning in all the way from Sweden. That's really cool. That's really cool to hear. Good night. I assume that's probably translates to something like good night, I guess. If not, then I apologize for getting that one wrong. But if so, good night to you as well. And again, appreciate you tuning in. The way Python communicates with C. Okay, yeah, that is basically a shared binding. Basically how these modules like displayio are implemented, shared bindings and shared modules folder in the repo. Yeah, correct. Yeah. I think I am not aware. Scott might be aware of more than I am, certainly, in terms of what exists and what doesn't. I am not aware. I'm trying to think. I'm not aware of any documentation that does specifically describe and document the way that shared bindings works all the way. So there's a visual. If you're a visual person, there is a visual. There is like a visual guide that K-Match, I think, Kevin, member of the community, made a visual guide. I think it's in like a PDF or something, and it pulls in screenshots of the different parts of the code, and it like highlights different things, and then kind of like visually points you over to which other part of the code they match up with. So you'll see like C code in it, and then something will be, highlighted or circled with an arrow kind of like pointing over to the portion of the Python code, or I think it's actually the docs, the Python docs, not the code itself, but it kind of like shows you what that part of the C code is responsible for in the docs. Looks like there is a little bit though. Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Tim. Good night to all. Have a nice weekend. Yeah, thank you for watching, Paul. Thank you for all the cool stuff you've made as well. And thank you, and good night as well to you. I'll pull this up. I don't know that I've seen this page, so this will actually be interesting to get a look at this. I'm about to head out here pretty quick, though. So let's see. Common how. Adding I/O support file layout. Oh. Okay, yeah, no, this is definitely, I did not realize this page exists. I don't think I've ever seen this page. Yeah, I should come back and read this, even if it is outdated a bit. I mean, maybe I can update it a bit too, potentially. Like, I'm still learning some of this stuff, but... Huh. Yeah, that is helpful. Nice. Extending to CircuitPython. Owns a learn guide. Oh, this I was actually just looking for this the other day too. So I'm glad you linked this. I was just saying the other day, I think I may have been on the stream, it'd be really cool if we had a guide that showed kind of like hello world of adding your own thing to CircuitPython. And that is like exactly what this is. It's awesome. I need to go through this better too. I am to the point where I can like add on to an existing thing and eventually get it working by just copy pasting parts of it and hacking it up. I'm not quite to the point where I can just write from scratch lots of this stuff. So actually this guide probably would help me get a lot further along that road. And this is called what now? This is called Extending CircuitPython and Introduction. Nice. I'm gonna bookmark it over in Chrome because I do more of my normal browsing over in Chrome rather than Firefox. So let's do that. Boom. Done. Bookmarks. Gonna definitely take a look through that. Okay, Python objects are C structs under the hood. Keep it real. Yep. Take it easy. Love the factory. Yep. Thanks for the question, Isaac Ben. Appreciate you hanging out and asking questions. CircuitPython Dev is the channel to ask about. Yep. This will copy the module, one module to start another. It'd be great to update both pages. Yeah. I may go over both with an eye towards modernizing them and updating them to the current, see if there's anything that's different in the repo, like file path and any of that sort of stuff these days, because it looks like it was a while ago. Yep, you're welcome, C. Grover. Thanks for tuning out. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Appreciate all of you watching. Appreciate everybody hanging out in the chat and stuff. Thank you again to Scott for the review and everything else you've done for CircuitPython, obviously. Thanks, C. Grover, for the calibration thing. We used that thing again today, so appreciate that. Yeah, everybody else that was watching, appreciate all of you. Honestly, love the factory. Who else? We had a ton of folks around today. Deshipu, Tammy, thank you to all of you. Nerdoc helped me out with a couple of things. Gordy G over in the YouTube. We had Beata over there in the YouTube as well. Thank you to you folks. American Buff, thank you to you as well. I will be back, folks, if folks want to watch more CircuitPython stuff tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Central Time. Sorry, I don't know the UTC time exactly or how that converts, but if you look up Central Time and you convert 10 a.m. into your time zone, I will be back here streaming again, although I'll be on my own Twitch and my own YouTube rather than the Adafruit one. I'll always drop links in the live broadcast chat, which is the Discord chat that is on the screen down below me there. So if you hang out there in the morning, I'll put the link over to Twitch and YouTube when I'm getting started. So check that out. We'll be working on something tomorrow. Not sure what yet, but we'll find something fun. Sherry, thank you very much. It's been very informative. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Thanks, Sherry. And yeah, have a good night, everybody. I will catch you all